Yes, hello. I hope folks can hear me. This is Margaret Natario. I wanted to say hello and welcome to today's IM User Community Webcast. As I mentioned, I'm Margaret Natario. I'm a product manager for CA's enterprise management products, including eHealth. And today's topic will be providing a high-level update on eHealth status as part of our enterprise management portfolio. We also have Steve Guthrie behind the scenes working the slides. Thank you very much, Steve. And with that, we started a couple minutes late, so let's dive right in. On the agenda today, like I said, high-level status of eHealth as a product, an overview of our enhancements based on the roadmap, and the product goals for eHealth as they are today. There will be some time for Q&A at the end, and also a plug for our office hours on Thursday at this time. Next. So the number one question many are asking, and I've been fielding over my past 2 years as the eHealth product manager for eHealth is there an end-of-life date for eHealth? And the answer remains at no. As I hope you're all aware, we continue to release quarterly releases of the software, the latest being eHealth 63212 that just went GA. We also continue to support the 622 stream and deliver cert releases to that stream as well as the 632 stream. So that is the status today. No date planned for end of life, and you'll also notice that we haven't announced any end of support for the 622 stream or the older version. That's where we stand today. So I wanted to get that one, clear that point up right off the bat. I know that's probably a question on many of your minds. So thanks, Steve. Next. So with that, the next topic is eHealth enhancements. That's the next most common question that I get with eHealth as a mature product as it is now. What are our plans for enhancing the product? So the number one type of enhancement that we are delivering right now for eHealth are our device certifications. As I hope many of you have realized, we've embarked on consolidation of our device certification program, and we've cleared up the backlog for all eHealth device certifications. So we're basically keeping up with the incoming rate and delivering all of your requests with regard to device certifications in each release. So we're happy to announce that we are doing that and continue to do that. With regard to additional enhancements such as feature requests, those should always be oriented towards our technology and product goals, which I'll go over in the next slide. And the number one way that we solicit those types of requests is still through our ideation, which I hope you're all participating in this community. They're regularly monitored, and I take a special filtered look at those votes with over 10 votes, those ideas with over 10 votes, and endeavor to categorize them into one of the buckets that are pretty self-explanatory, but just to go over at the high level, some functionality that might have been delivered or is planned to be delivered in the product, something that is under review might be something that we think is a good idea for an enhancement tweak that we may be able to fit into a future release. Wish list is something that's usually a larger request, an enhancement that might take several cycles to complete, but we think it's a good idea. So we want to keep an eye on it, especially if it gets a lot of votes. And not planned is just something that is outside the scope of what we think we would ever get to for eHealth, not be something like 64-bit eHealth or something, a large work item like that requires re-architecture. So that's the general bucketization of ideas as they come in. And I just want to plug that voting is always worthwhile because we do look at those with the top votes, those ideas with the top votes whenever we find availability to expand what we're delivering in any given release cycle for eHealth, and also not just for eHealth, but all of the product managers and enterprise management can look across the entire IM community and say, what are our customers asking for in this space? So it's not just product silos, but we can search across, what are people looking for with regard to, SNMP V3 or whatever, and we get across all the products. So this is a way that another way besides interfacing with you directly, that we get, an input as to how many folks are interested in a given functionality. So if we can go to the next slide, Steve. So as I mentioned, when I'm dispositioning these ideas that come in via ideation, we keep in mind these top-level technology and product architecture goals. So for eHealth, it's pretty straightforward. We're continuing to support our existing customers to ensure their existing success. Many of you have been running eHealth for a number of years, and we want to make sure that you continue to be successful. And we do that by providing high-priority security vulnerabilities, keeping up with the device certifications, incoming rate, as you mentioned, and integrating with other products that might be part of your solution of VA products for enterprise management. Next, Steve. Yeah, so architecturally speaking, support for things like the latest operating systems like Red Hat 7X that we just certified, and keeping up with the 6X stream, looking at our database platform, making sure that we have updated integration with Spectrum, single sign-on, aka SiteMinder, and EEM, because we're well aware that many of you are using eHealth as part of a solution and not just a standalone tool. And then the overall architecture goal sort of goes without saying is delivering stable software with excellent quality that you have come to expect from the eHealth team. So that's what we keep in mind when dispositioning the ideas and also when putting together the eHealth roadmap, which is our next slide. Go ahead, Steve, next. So the eHealth roadmap, strategic intent, ensure customer success, really continuing customer success with the product. Our last two releases being eHealth 63211 as the full release and 63212 with the certification release that we just posted in GA. And what we delivered as part of those releases was updated support for single sign-on. As I mentioned, we certified Red Hat Linux 7X. We updated our third-party components to address major security vulnerabilities, added support for the latest browsers that we support, Firefox, Chrome, and IE. Also delivered the out-of-band kit for Oracle, and over 160 device certification releases for the last two releases. I think went to sleep. Just a second. She just slept. And okay, just one second, just a snafu here. My machine got tired and went to sleep. Bear with me. I got it. Sorry for that. Okay, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead for the next slide. Thanks. I'm back. So moving on to our next planned release, we're following on with the same theme to ensure customer success, and that our number one enhancement being the additional support for those sites that require the use of common access cards, and that's when authenticating with eHealth and Spectrum and integration, and this is particularly for Windows installations. We had already delivered that functionality for our Unix operating systems, and then we're following up with the Windows server requirement that came in. That's our number one committed enhancement. The additional planned enhancements follow on our same path of updated support for Red Hat Linux 6X stream, 7X stream, also continuing on with timely updates to our third-party products to address security vulnerabilities via Apache Web Server, Tomcat, OpenSSL, et cetera, providing the Oracle CPU kits independently, and updates to our browsers, Firefox, Chrome, and IE, as I mentioned. And we continue to expect to keep up with the 80 incoming device certification requests per quarter is about what we're running today. So that's no surprises there. It's really staying the course for our planned releases. And go ahead, Steve. And under consideration, so this I need to call out on this part. This is what we don't have slated for a particular release. We haven't, they're not committed. I need to say that these are under consideration. So these are the most likely enhancements that we'll do in a future as yet TBD release of eHealth, but not a full commitment yet. So I need to point that out, that that's why it's called under consideration instead of planned. So the biggest one there being an update to our bundled database for eHealth to go from Oracle 11G to 12C. That is actually quite a bit of work, as you can imagine. So that is why it is under consideration there for to keep up with that platform and to continue to provide the value there with the latest version. That's why that's under consideration. Update to the sizing tool, which is something that folks rely on when they're moving, when they're doing upgrades, when they're moving to different OSs, they're moving from a physical to a virtual environment. Folks have relied on the Swiss sizing tool to make sure that they have the right amount of servers or need to add servers to their eHealth cluster. So that we haven't updated in quite a while. So that's on the list for potential work. Another thing that we've heard from the field and from folks on ideation is some ideas for additional offerings around offering high availability and disaster recovery for eHealth, depending on the platform. The solutions do vary on OS platforms, so that's something that we have under investigation. Right now, we continue to support the ArcServe solution as part of our disaster recovery for eHealth. And then the supportability updates are around making sure that our support teams are fully enabled to support the product and to get to the root cause of any problems that you might encounter with the software, and in order to make sure that they have meaningful logs, meaningful errors, and are able to gather everything they need to reduce the mean time to resolution of any issue that you might have with the product. So we always have that on our radar. Vulnerability updates continue just as before with a high level with the third-party high-impact vulnerabilities always on our radar. Also keeping up with Spectrum versions to make sure we're integrated as part of a solution and along with the card authentication, which is important to many of our customer sites. And then we would have to add on support for Oracle 12C if we do switch that off as the bundle database for eHealth. And either way, we would continue to support the CPU kits and independently for both supported databases at that time. That is under consideration. And as always, last but not least, keeping up with the customer requested device certifications. So no real surprises there, still staying the course, being aggressive where we can, have things under consideration, but really ensuring our continued customer success by doing the highest value updates that we've identified. So there's a roadmap. And with that, we have a full 10 minutes, 11 minutes for questions. I also want to plug, if you need to drop off, we have a follow-up office hours at this time on Thursday, which will also be online at the same channel. You can make a note there of if you would like to register for that, and we can answer additional questions that we may not get to today. So with that, I'd like to open it up for questions. LaShonda?
Certainly. At this time, if you would like to ask an audio question, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. And we do have a question from the line of Bob Wilson.
Hi, Bob. Can you hear me?
Oh, hey, I bet if I take the mute off, it'll work a lot better. Hey, am I the only one on, or, oh, I see somebody else might have come in. Okay. My question has to do with the two things that were mentioned, the SiteMinder. Any progress on getting the documentation out to us?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'll take that one offline with you, Bob. Yeah, I had, as a part of the integration that we mentioned and then the existing roadmap, we had updated the SiteMinder, aka single sign-on. And part of the delivery part of that was getting updated documentation. So we had to, a little legal review there as always, but I can follow up after the call with you on that with an update.
That's perfectly fine. To give you some insights, we have another problem on one of our the Solaris eHealth that we'll be working on April the 14th. So it looks like we're already at 632.11. Is anything helped if I go to 632.12?
No, the 632.12 is cert only, so the core code remains unchanged. It's really
fantastic. Well, and then the last thing is, when I looked through the release notes, I didn't see much detail about security vulnerabilities that were fixed by the different releases. And this is a suggestion. It's not a, I'm not pounding. I don't want to pound nails, but in the electro-political world that I live in with a large government agency, the magic words security vulnerability gives me power to get upgrades put on our eHealth. If it's just because, oh, we'd like to have the next release of eHealth, they say, well, why? And I say, well, because it's the next release. They pat me on the head and send me off. But I have a good friend in the IT security people, because if I let them know that there's a security vulnerability fixed by a particular release, it gives me a lot of backing, and it makes it a lot easier. In fact, usually they come back and say, well, how come you didn't do this already? So just want to give you a heads up that the more that you communicate with us about security vulnerabilities in an early and timely fashion, the easier it is for us to justify, to fight the electro-political battles and get the latest versions up. Does that help?
So yeah, so I hear you saying that the README, by the time we get it in the README, that might be a little bit too late. That comes out with the release,
Right. I don't want to tell you how to solve the problem. I'm just suggesting is that IT security vulnerabilities are a big club, and the sooner, when it gets in my hands, it makes it a lot easier for me to start the process of justifying and getting the outage needed to install the next release of eHealth. Does that help?
No,
okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and mute out.
Okay. Thanks, Bob.
Margaret, we have a couple questions that came in through the Q&A panel. I'm wondering if we could take some of them live. One from Neville. Are there plans to support SNMP version 3 natively within eHealth?
That is one that I have had to decline, and I've done that online. We've looked into, if that could be broken down, if that was something, keeping in mind the goals for the product, right, and the high value enhancements that we've been able to offer. We've looked at this several ways for some great suggestions that have come in through ideation and otherwise from the field, for example, and trying to see if there was any way we could perhaps, provide some sort of light enhancement or, just an interface type, a better interface around it. And we've come back to the fact that basically we need to re-architect how we implemented SNMP v3 support. So at this time, I've had to define that as a re-architectural type of enhancement that's outside of the scope today. Recognizing that it's obviously a value add, and that we do have, support for an SNMP v3 with our outside vendor that we continue to support, and don't have a lot of troubles with, but we understand that there would be value to a native. But like I said, it today is outside of the scope of our enhancements because of the re-architecture needed around that.
Okay, thank you. And another question in from Rick Williams. Is consideration being given to supporting SysEdge agents in UIM to aid migration from eHealth to UIM?
Oh, well, that's an excellent question. I believe the answer there is yes. I know that the PM team as a whole is very aware of the integrations that folks, the tight integration between eHealth and SysEdge, and as well as Spectrum. So that is something that both the UIM team and the CAPM team are aware of. Each product implementing support in different ways, and I don't have that item for the roadmap specifically off the top of my head, but that is something that I believe has been asked on the ideation, and I can follow up if there is a contact information we provided there, we can follow up further on that. But yes, the entire product management team is aware of the need to support, the great number of performance metrics and KPIs that were available as part of SysEdge and our Vein STEM solutions, and we consider that part of our entire solution package across all the products.
Great, thank you. How about a few more?
Sure.
Margaret, another question from Junaid. Could we also get access to documentation for SiteMinder integration with eHealth, please?
Yes, so that was something that Bob Wilson asked. So I will take that as an action item to update that on the, provide that separately on the community. We don't have, you might have noticed we don't, our product documentation, our formal product documentation hasn't done an update for a while, and we plan to have these new docs be part of more of a wiki or provided more piecemeal. So right now, I can take this as an action item as seems that more than one person wants that documentation. So I will take that as an action item to post it right as a document right in the community, and hopefully you guys are following me on the community so you can get notified as I do that. That's an action item for this week.
Okay, and we have one in from Andy Nelson. Perhaps this is one we have to take offline, Margaret, I'm not sure. Let me just get to it and read that to you. We have a problem outstanding with the SiteMinder integration for several months, which has not been resolved. Unprotected resources. Is this on the agenda to be resolved?
Oh, yes. We actually have a call slated for, I know what site this is. I'll let you guys remain anonymous. So, yes, we are well aware when we have eHealth as part of an integrated solution with single sign-on and Spectrum, et cetera, that there's more than one way to configure the integration. So we are working across teams right now and with services folks who implemented the initial implementation there to make sure that you guys have continuity of that solution. So yes, that is on my plate for this week as well.
Okay, great. And one in from Michael Romolino. Can you expand on single sign-on a little bit? Will one click be included?
One click, well, there's one click for eHealth and there's one click for Spectrum. So presuming one click for eHealth, generally the way that folks configure a single sign-on is with the supported Spectrum eHealth integration, which starts on the Spectrum side and drills down into eHealth without having to re-authenticate. That is the most popular implementation of single sign-on for eHealth with that way for Spectrum. So it starts with Spectrum. So I guess, I need to know more about the entire configuration of your site and what you're trying to, what your path of authentication is and what other moving parts you have in the solution in order to provide a better answer to that. I mean, yeah, we'll always consider and try to support leveraging, the rest of the CA product that we integrate with as part of your solution, but sometimes it does require services get involved if it's something over and above what we've been able to provide as part of the standard integration. So I guess you can engage, you can send us an architectural spec to me directly, Margaret Natario at ca.com, or you can engage through support if you'd like tracking that way. That's one way to engage, but I really need to have more information in order to answer that.
So let's make a note to follow up on that one. Margaret, how are you feeling? You want to take a few more? I know it's not easy to answer questions live.
That's okay. There's a couple more.
Okay. Well, we have over 60 people on the line, so I think people are getting value from this. So we have a question in from Charlie. We are at version 6.3.0.5 and told we can't move up in versions without losing data. What am I missing by not upgrading?
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear. I would hope that you wouldn't be losing data, so I hope you're engaged with support services to make sure that you got a good path there to move forward. We shouldn't expect you to lose any data as long as you've got database saves happening. I mean, per the roadmap and the vision that we have for the product currently, our updates have been mostly around vulnerabilities, security updates, and device certification. So that's what you're missing out on. I mean, there's any number of vulnerabilities that have been identified in all of the third-party components that we've addressed with every full release, and that's been 2 a year. And every quarter we've released dozens and dozens of device certifications. So that's those would be your primary things that you're missing out on. And please do engage support. I mean, you shouldn't be it shouldn't be a case where you're losing data. We should be able to help you out there to minimize any type of data loss when you're upgrading.
Great, and I think that's it for the questions. I believe Steve Guthrie has answered many of them online. LaShonda, can we open up one more time for any last-minute audio questions?
Certainly. At this time, if you would like to ask a question, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. And there are no additional questions at this time.
Okay, so I think that's a wrap for today, Margaret. So to the community, hi, this is Melissa Potvin. We've been having webcasts every Tuesday, so if you are interested in hearing about all the many events that we've had, just keep in mind we always post the recording to the webcast. Thank you to Margaret for assembling this information to the community. We're grateful. It was a great update today, and for answering all these questions live, which is not an easy thing to do. Next week, Tuesday, we have a great presentation lined up. Kieran Dewicker will be with us giving a webcast to you on Spectrum 10.1.1 with a demo. So be sure to register for that. That's next Tuesday. And as Margaret already mentioned, this week on Thursday, we're doing an office hours for eHealth. So if you have any questions about this presentation or about any of the information that you heard today, you can come in on Thursday and speak to Margaret through a WebEx chat, and the support team will be there as well, so you can get all your questions answered live. So again, thank you for joining today. We appreciate your time. Everyone, have a great day.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.
Good job, Margaret.